Hi everybody, this is my case study for EDL 856, Parental Apathy. First I want to talk about the problem and how I analyzed it. So first, what I know about this case. So Mrs. Rose is the assistant principal at John F. Kennedy Elementary School, and parental engagement in this school has been very low, which Mrs. Rose sees as a problem. However, her principal is not seeing parental engagement as a goal for the school and doesn't really value parental engagement. They decided to host a parent meeting at Monday at 7:30 p.m., but the meeting had a really low turnout of only 8 parents, and the principal does not wish to proceed with the meeting, so Mrs. Rose is kind of wondering what she should do. What I need to know is, why have parents not been involved in the school? Has it really been the principal excluding them, or has it been the parents not wanting to come? Have they had some other sort of conflict, meaning they couldn't come? Why has this been happening? I'm also wondering how the principal will react if Mrs. Rose wants to continue the meeting because the principal doesn't currently seem like they want to. And then I'm also wondering, why are parents not showing up at the meeting? So the parents only had about 3 days notice, so I'm thinking that could be a contributing factor, but are there any other contributing factors to why they aren't coming to this meeting, such as like the time of the meeting? So maybe Monday at 7:30 p.m. is soccer practice for grades 3 through 5. If there's something else big going on at that time, that could also be a factor. And then I'm also wondering, what types of activities would parents be interested in attending and getting involved with at the school? So there's kind of 2 problems in this case. The overall problem is that there's low parental engagement, but the immediate problem is that there's 8 people sitting in the auditorium waiting for a meeting to start, and the principal doesn't want to start the meeting. So my plan of action is, my first step is going to be to continue with the proposed meeting as scheduled. So whatever I have scheduled to present at this meeting needs to be presented. I want to reinforce these parents who took time out of their day to come to this meeting and show them that I value their time. I also want to bring something to build off of. So something to build off of with these 8 parents. Maybe I can learn something that they want at the school, but I can also show them, hey, this was a really good use of their time. And if they leave that meeting feeling like, hey, that was good, I would go back, they might also bring their friends the next time and help increase the turnout. The second thing I would want to do is to kind of figure out the interests of parents. So I want to send home a survey that's like a formal questionnaire about what parents would be interested in. So there's a lot of different ways you can engage parents. You can have sort of parental classes that talk about different aspects of parenting. You can have data nights that talk about academic things. You can have kind of family fun nights, like a bingo night or some sort of game night. So what ways are parents wanting to interact with the school? You could do that through the formal questionnaire survey, which I will send home, but also the principal claims that he has a lot of conversations with parents, so he could incorporate that into his conversations as well. The third step in my plan of action is going to be to train staff members. So staff members need to understand that parental engagement is valuable, and they need to know how they should be going about that. So I want to train them during a PD on this issue, because it sounds like the school hasn't really had a lot of parental engagement in the past, so staff members might not really know what to do. I also want to create a variety of ways for parents to be involved. So not every parent can be involved in the exact same way. So I want to create a variety of different times. So evening, morning, daytime, when could parents be involved? I also want to think about levels of commitment. So some parents might want to be all in and really pour themselves into family engagement, but other parents might not really have that much time to spend. So how can they still be involved even if they don't have as much time for commitment? I also want to think about cost. So sometimes we think of parental engagement in terms of, can you donate whatever supply to the school, especially when we think about like family classroom parties, or different fun events. So some families might not be able to donate, but they might be willing to volunteer. So how can we engage them in that way? And then I also want creative events. So I don't just want parent meeting, parent meeting, parent meeting. I want to use that interest survey to talk about what are some creative ways that we could engage with our families. And then lastly, I want to work on broadening engagement. So after I create a solid base of parental engagement, I want to think about even more parents, so reaching out to some of our maybe more hard to reach parents. And then also thinking about community members who don't have a direct tie to the school and how we could engage them. So I believe that my plan promotes the success of all students for a variety of reasons. First, it's best for students to have parental engagement in their schools, which I'm going to kind of talk more about in a minute, but we know that successful schools have parents engaged in their school. So it's best for the students to have their parents be engaged. It's also best for students to feel that they're supported by their families. So if a student has a strings concert and their family doesn't show up for them, that leaves the student feeling kind of unsupported. So it's best for our students to feel like their families are involved in their school and really care about what they're doing. It's also best for our students to have principals and staff members who value their families. Obviously, these families are students' kind of whole world, basically, outside of school. So we want our students to know that we value their families, we respect them, and we want them to be a part of this. If students feel like their families aren't valued, it kind of isolates them from the staff at the school, and that's not a positive thing. So I'm going to kind of debrief the problem and let you know what I was thinking during this case. So I was thinking about why aren't parents showing up to these events? So is it because they haven't been given the opportunity? Is it because they haven't found events that are desirable to them? Is it time? Is it money? What is the problem? I'm also thinking about how I can turn a low turnout event into a positive thing for me to build on. So these 8 parents, hey, I've only got 8 of them, but how can I work with these 8 to make sure that it goes better next time? And then what events would families be interested in? So I kind of have talked about that there's a really wide variety of ways for parents to be involved in a school. So I'm thinking in this event of different ways that I could engage parents that they maybe wouldn't have seen before. I'm also feeling really disappointed with how the principal has been handling parent engagement. I think that this attitude exists in education, and I've definitely seen it with parent engagement, that it's not really beneficial and it's not helpful to a school, and schools are kind of better off just to do their own thing. But I'm disappointed that the principal has taken that course of action because we know that this is not what's best for students. I also feel sorry for the families who haven't been included. It would be really hard to feel like you were not welcome at your own student's school. So I feel bad for those families who have been experiencing this. And then I feel personally responsible as the assistant principal for improving this situation and making a better outcome in the future. Finally, I am valuing parents' time and effort in coming to this event. So I don't want to just send them home. That's incredibly rude for somebody who showed up at a meeting to just say, no meeting, and send them home. That's not something I want to do. And then I also am going to value the positive contributions that families can make to a school. So I want their help. So I value them, and I value their input, and I want it. And then finally, I value the principal's authority in this situation, but not without question. So if the principal absolutely puts their foot down and says, this meeting will not happen, as the assistant principal, I'm going to kind of have to defer to their authority, but it's not going to come without question. So it's not going to come without me saying, well, why do you believe that? This is what I believe. This is why I believe it. If it comes down to showing research to prove my point, then that's what it comes down to. So I value their authority, but not without some questions from me. Finally, some unresolved issues. So I'm wondering what ways will parents want to engage with the school? So kind of what will those survey results be? And will the principal be supportive of more sustained family engagement efforts, or are they going to continue to kind of be a problematic element in this case? And then finally, are parents going to be receptive to new engagement efforts when they've already been shut out for so long? As a parent, I think that transition from I don't want you in my school to I want you in my school a lot could be kind of complicated. So how are parents going to respond to this change? As my reflection. So first I want to talk about why parent engagement is good for academic success. So I quoted an article from the National School Public Relations Association, which we actually used in Module 9 in this course. And family engagement leads to schools with higher GPAs, test scores, attendance, better behavior, increased enrollment in those high-level classes that we want students to strive for. So we can see that parents being involved in a school helps students be academically successful. So everything in this case I did promoted parent involvement, therefore it also promoted academic success. Parent events can also focus on ways to help your student be successful academically. That's something that my current school focuses a lot on. So I think by promoting parent involvement in academic-centered events, we could also promote academic success of students directly. For personal well-being of students, I think that communication between families and the school is going to help students be more kind of cared for. So if students feel like they have two completely separate worlds, then information can kind of get lost in between, and we're maybe not going to pick up on things that we should notice about our students. But if their family and their school are overlapping, there's not going to be a gap. And so concerns are going to be noticed. Something that comes to mind here is like mental health issues. If we felt like a student was really struggling with that, I think it would be easier to notice when parents are involved in the school. Likewise, if a student is having any sort of problem, academic, behavioral, mental, any really sort of problem, an existing relationship is going to help in solving that. So if the first time you meet the principal is when your kid is in their office, then that's probably not great for solving the problem. But if you already have an existing positive relationship with the staff and the principal in the school, it's going to make it easier to create a path towards a solution. And finally, student events can also help parents learn more about their students' health. So we have an event here at Emerson called Champs Club every month, and it's run by university medical students, and they kind of talk to parents about eating healthy and keeping active and ways that you can do activities as a family. So it also kind of helps student health through the parent event, which is kind of what I talked about with the academic events, that you can directly promote personal well-being and academic success of students through these events. Finally, this case study, was all about community engagement. So these are some ways that I collaborated with the families and community members. So I respected the time of the families who were in attendance. I want them to be my partners, and I don't want to anger them or turn them away. So I respected their time. And I also showed interest in creating more involvement with the parents in the community by sending out that interest survey and working towards progress on this issue. I responded to diverse community needs by understanding that different parents may be able to contribute in different ways, whether that's a different time, a different event, a different cost, a different level of commitment, whatever it may be, parents are going to be able to help in different ways, and that's okay. And then finally, giving more notice on future meetings. So if a parent is working in the evenings, 3 days notice is definitely not enough time to get off work. It's not enough time to find a babysitter for most people. So how can we give more notice to parents that will actually allow them to better participate? And then finally, I mobilized community resources. So the first thing I did is I turned my parents who were actually already at the event, I turned them into my kind of ambassadors for the program. I want them to reach out to other families and help me bring people into this. So I kind of use them as a community resource in that sense. And then finally, I would bring in different resources. So we talked about academic nights or health-centered nights. To find out what parents are interested in, I could bring in resources from the community once I see those interests in the survey. Thank you so much for watching my case study. I hope you've enjoyed it.